So this is the first Sunday of Advent. Familiar with the Advent Sundays, many of you? And it is hope is the theme. It's hope. And traditionally it is hope. It is the coming of Christ. Traditionally, that's what it's about. So in Unity, we can actually see that in such a unique way because it's the hope of the coming of, the birthing of something incredibly new and wonderful. What might that be? Within us, within a moment of awakening, something new, something brilliant that's being birthed all the time. We pay attention to it at certain seasons, but this is a truth for all of us all the time. That something new is coming alive, being birthed, and it begins with something really beautiful. One of my favorite scripture pieces is about the beginning. The Genesis story, our own Genesis story. Genesis 1:3, and God said, "Let there be light." Say that with me. Let there be light. So what does that mean? The stories of childhood, the things that you remember, maybe Sunday school classes, maybe reading and book studies, and let there be light. When you dive into unity stories, when you dive into unity principles, it is the first act of creation, the dawn of a new day. It's the awakening of consciousness. What is consciousness? It's a new awakening, a new birth to see something differently. Let there be light as a divine impulse between us, within us, to see something differently. Have you ever navigated your life doing something the same way you've always done it and heard something, read something, listened to something, and all of a sudden you tilted your head and you thought, I really never saw that before. There's a new awareness with this story, with this happening, with this place in my life. And suddenly you're faced with a relearning or a new way of looking at something for the first time. That's the light. That's the awakening piece. It shifts us from perhaps a shadowed thought to an illuminated awareness. Today I'll talk a lot about some polarities we navigate all the time. From fear, oh my gosh, the fear, what ifs, to faith. From lack consciousness or lack of not enough, not worthy, don't have enough, a lack, to a prosperity consciousness, to a gratitude prosperity area of our lives. And today is a lot about gratitude. We are just coming through Thanksgiving weekend. A lot of people talk about what they're thankful for, but Reverend Barbara has said many times, and I will also say, we'll continue to talk about the practice of gratitude all the time, not just in a season. Every time we choose to notice the good, and when I say good, I'm meaning the capital G, God within something, to bless something rather than curse something. The frustration of something. But maybe we could see a way to bless it. It will shift the reality right there to give thanks instead of giving up. Sometimes it's just too frustrating. We just go, never mind. Let me move on from this. But what if we chose to bless that situation, see the light in that situation, in that story, in that relationship, in that person, and then we honor the curriculum we're being given to learn within ourselves. If we think we're going to go around and change someone else, you can all giggle on that one. Where's the work within me to notice what is stirring me in this moment? What is poking those places within myself for me to learn something new? And sometimes we bless and release. We say, okay, I've swam in those waters long enough. I'm about to swim out now. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? But the world can feel heavy. It does feel heavy. And I'm wondering, Herb, is my audio just a little too, is it too loud for you all? It's up here. It's a little bit. Okay, just checking. Good. Thank you, Denise. Every time we choose to bless, to see the blessing, to see the patience in some story, we give thanks instead of giving up on a story. That doesn't mean we have to play the martyr. Doesn't mean we have to walk around going, oh my gosh, woe is me. We speak life to those creative words again and again when we are faced with an obstacle, a story, maybe a hill that looks too far to climb, and we say, let there be light. Say it with me again. Let there be light. You're faced with something. Use those powerful words to say, and let there be light. And then move through. Watch the reality you're in change. So how do we do this? How do we do it when things are heavy? There's difficulties ahead. The world can feel heavy these days. There's constant demands on our lives. And I know some of us, I'm one of them, that there's a hum of responsibility and things to do before our feet ever hit the floor. You don't even get to pause. You're like, oh, I got to get to this next thing on my list and look at the calendar and go, oh my gosh, all this stuff. There's a lot. It's easy to slip into a cycle of doing, rather than being. You get that one? Do, go, rather than sacred space of being. It's like the meditation. It's a reminder for all of us to be still and to savor the moments rather than survive the next moment. Look at the difference in the polarities there. Surviving or savoring. Savoring the relationships. Gratitude invites us into a different rhythm of life. It slows us down, it softens some of the edges, and it opens the heart to see what is still good, still sacred, and still possible. Reverend Barber talked about the infinite possibilities last week, and that's really what this is about. This is expanding on all that is always possible. If we hit a brick wall, or if we hit a door that's closed, or there's a closure of a relationship or a story or something or a job, what do? We just beat on the door for years and years and years? Sometimes people might say, there's a window. I say turn around and look the other way and say, oh, there's a whole new path ahead. Brene Brown, for some of you that know, is a friend and a mentor and a teacher. We're from the same place. And then I eventually dove into Dare to Lead, if you're familiar with her book, Dare to Lead, and became a Dare to Lead trainer. And something that she often talks about in her own life and her own research and how it changes, it rewires our brain, it rewires our thinking. And she writes that it's not joy that makes us grateful, but gratitude that makes us joyful. And I like the way to look at that. Because we're in a joyful environment, of course it's easy to be grateful. But when we live in a space of gratitude, it makes everything a joyful experience. When we're present for gratitude, we see things differently to notice what's been there all along. There is a blessing in every situation, even though it's hard to see, and every relationship, even though it's hard to see. You're running through some of them in your thoughts right now, aren't you? You're thinking, oh, gosh, this is really a challenge for me, this story. And yet there's a blessing there for us, because even in life's storms, we can step back and see the forest for the trees and rediscover the deep, sustaining grace that brings gratitude. Let there be light. We're going to practice together today. You didn't know you were coming to church today and say you're going to do some work. Well, we are. The door is still open back there in case you want to run for it really, really quick, because we're about to do an exercise. So take a slow, deep breath with me. It's almost going to be like you do in meditation. If you don't do meditation regularly, here's a practice. Just take your breath slowly and feel that. Be aware of your breath. See, we go through life with the automatic breathing, but be aware of your breath. Slow and steady. Just see what that feels like. Notice your shoulders. Go ahead, let them drop. Feel the tension, roll your neck around a little bit. Just relax the body. Notice as you do this where your mind is. What system is running? Oh my gosh, what's he doing? Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? Oh, I've got things to do. Something I took out of the freezer. I've got to get somewhere. I've got to be somewhere. Notice if any of those things pop up. Let them go. Thank them for showing up. for tugging your attention. But bring your focus back to the moment. Feel differently. Breath. Breathe. Breath. Feels differently, doesn't it? Not constant chatter, not even from the person standing up here, just a piece of stillness between the beats. Notice your body. And I'm going to ask you a question. And this is not a thought, this is a feeling. So pay close attention. Thoughts come up that try to explain something or articulate something, but what we're going to do is, how does gratitude and stillness in this moment feel in my body? Where do I notice a feeling in my body? Does it lighten, soften? Does it steady you? Thoughts. How does it feel when you stop, when you pause? Go ahead, share. Peaceful? How does peaceful feel, Linda, in your body? Calm, serenity, tranquility, warmth. Your body's warmer. Denise is relaxed. How does it feel, Megan? Peaceful. Peaceful. Something else? Calm. Isn't that a nice practice? Anyone familiar with Reverend Veronica? Yeah, we love Reverend Veronica. You know, she works with children, and they do mindful practice. And it's a really good practice for children. They're the busyness and playing, maybe a little too much sugar here and there, but just to practice that mindfulness and breathing can shift our energy, shift our relationships, take us to responses rather reactionary. Any other thoughts? How does it feel in your body? In the back, Marion? Connected. Yeah. What was it? Yes. It's a beautiful practice to do on a regular basis, but we're in a season that tends to be about that, but the example is not there because it's a busier calendar, things to do, go. Sometimes it's wrapping presents and be in this place or that place, and you feel pulled in so many different directions, and you think, oh my gosh, just get to the other side of Christmas. No one here's ever said that, have they? But gratitude expands us. Being still in the moment helps us practice patience. And it's not there to erase what is hard, but to sit beside it, to perhaps be the observer. Be the observer of yourself. How am I running? What systems are running? Where am I at? Sit beside yourself in those still moments and see where gratitude is playing out in our lives. And just for a few breaths in this exercise, we experienced, those of you that are newer or navigating unity. What is unity? I would say this has a lot to do with it, because this type of exercise, when you become still and when you become clear and serenity and peace and calm shows up and warmth, you are creating a shift in frequency and energy, not only in this room, but in the world. You, alone in your home, doing that work is changing the collective consciousness in the world. Did you know you had that power? Yes, you do. So while it's changing us, it's also changing the collective. It's changing the world. What a powerful piece of information to have if you didn't know that already. I'm going to take us into Scripture. I'm going to take us to Jesus, our master teacher and way shower. And for those of you that know the story of Jesus, his near, dear friend Lazarus. How many know the story of Jesus and Lazarus? Okay, you've heard it. You may hear it a little bit differently today. I'm kind of hoping so. Jesus was all about the practice of gratitude. You don't hear a lot about it, but the giving thanks. So Jesus has been called to the site of Lazarus, where Lazarus is already gone. He's passed away. It's over. And if you didn't know the story, Jesus was very near, dear friends to Lazarus. This was a dear friend. He's been called because he's gone. And Jesus shows up. So here's the scene. He shows up and he's there. And I would imagine we can do this. We can go into a place of empathy and we can think, have I lost a dear friend? I have. Can I know that gut-wrenching pain that devastates me? And how he must have felt to go and not be there, but to show up, and he's already gone. So here's Jesus navigating the human and the divine, feeling the pain of that with a tear-stained face at the tomb of Lazarus. And what does he say? He says something you don't say. Non-orthodox here. He says, roll away the stone. That's not something you do. People are wailing and mourning, they're in grief, and he shows up and they're watching, what's he going to do? And he says, roll away the stone. So you can imagine the people, the energy is gasping like, what's happening here? And what did he do? Scripture tells us he lifted his eyes. Lifting his eyes is looking to something beyond the stories that are around him, the worry, the fear, the concern. He's lifting his eyes to God or divine omnipotence or to a higher power, to the highest self that he could muster. Now, this doesn't mean we bypass our pain, our loss, our grief, but this does mean we have access to something within us. Metaphysically, this is instead of looking at the unbelieving people of, oh my gosh, or the stories that are happening, that he directed his love and his faith heavenward, meaning up, or we can see that as to pure thoughts, untethered and clean from a world view. Oh, you're not supposed to do that. And he shifted from his pain, although honoring it, to something higher. And what were his words? I won't test you here, but his words were very profound here. He looked up and he said, Father, thank you. Now you see the picture I painted. In a time of grief, he said, thank you. Because his thanksgiving expressed an unshaken assurance that there is something greater in the story here, something more beautiful occurring. He lifted it to our highest self, the highest place within us. On our best day, after we've done a lot of meditation, we're fully chilled. We've had enough dark chocolate to balance us. And we are thinking we are tracking at the highest rhythm we can track at. And then we can touch into that highest self. And what an experience to feel in our body that place of calm, serenity, warmth, peace. To be able to say, yeah, this is a heavy situation. This is a heavy time. And I'm going to cry and I'm going to sob and I'm going to be in my anger and my grief and my bargaining. But I know something good will come from this. Gratitude is a practice that leads us to possibility. Again, Reverend Barber talked about this last week. When we remain open and receptive, and these are the key words here, to be open and receptive in all storylines. We've got to say open and receptive because it's really easy to close down, to shut down, to put that stone back over there and build up that cold stone and say, no, I'm not going to go there and look at that. But to open ourselves up to something beautiful that's there. Because it's easy for us to get very far-sighted. Goal setting, goals are very important. We've got to know where we're going and what we're doing. We've got to know where we're headed, right? But also we have to be nearsighted enough to know what's important right here, right now. To embrace those detours that life shows us. Oh my gosh, if you knew the story I got to share with Sandy a little bit, we were doing the community room tree out, and please do look at the community room. It's a place of love and laughter and conversation that created that room. And it was a beautiful moment because, she asked the question, so ministry from commercial real estate property portfolio management, how? Well, it went via the way of pain, via the way of heartache, and emerged into becoming a yoga teacher. And someone would say, huh? What? And a yoga teacher evolved into being a minister. So it's interesting how we can embrace those detours and just take those paths. Embrace the process, trust the journey. Because I know one thing for sure personally, that if I wouldn't have embraced the journey, I wouldn't be here today if there weren't for many painful endings and closures. Even the 3 years prior to me saying yes to Unity on Greenville, there were multiple closures, multiple endings, multiple areas of pain that were time to wrap up, close up, bless and release, and look. Do you see a joyful, passionate person here today? So blessed to be with this community right now. But it doesn't mean skipping through the sunshine and daisies to get here, right? We navigate life. And here's the real important thing I want to remind everyone. We go through our pain. We go through our grief, our anger, our frustration, our suffering. Go there, feel the feelings. I want to stress that. Let's never spiritual bypass anything. We feel our feelings, but that's not where we build our houses. Don't set up your tent and say, I'll just stay here. Get in that valley and see that hill like on The Sound of Music and get back up to the other side. Feel it, be there, be in that, and move forward. Charles Fillmore, I love what he wrote about an attitude of gratitude, because he says an attitude of gratitude announces the realization that we are in heaven. So if you think about those moments when you were at your best, it's the full capacity of joy, of celebration, look around and notice, because this isn't a story in Unity about waiting for the after party. This is a story about being right here, right now. And I'll mention again the beauty of Christmas in this church, the beauty of the poinsettias, the beautiful tree here. And for all those that participated in some form of decoration here, raise your hand and wave. It was a beautiful community effort. And I'll remember that attitude of gratitude announces the realization that we are in heaven by Charles Fillmore. When I reflect back on the community room, we were having conversations. Sandra was putting on hooks. Sandy and Oliver, Sandra put on hooks. She did. I don't think you placed a ball on a tree, did you? No. She says at home that's a rule, right? You hook and Darcy balls. But she was hooked. She went right into her job. And here, Sandy and I are having a conversation. Judy's decorating. Oliver and Mary Catherine, we played games, we laughed, and we were decorating and talking, stories and laughing. And then when you step back, not paying attention to the how, but it just became. It just became. And what a joy to be and to fellowship in that space. That's what I believe Charles Fillmore's talking about when we look at those experiences that announces the realization that we are in heaven. You know, everything continues to point to gratitude as a practice, contributes to brain health, to blood pressure, to everything scientifically that can help heal our bodies. A grateful person or a grateful people can create an upward spiral. Any of you familiar with spiral dynamics? So spiral dynamics is the upward elevation of consciousness that's always occurring, and we get stuck in some particular areas and then we move, but it's not negating what we've come through. It's taking a look at it from a different vantage point, like you're traveling the side of a mountain, moving up the sides, and you're seeing all the places we've been. And you transcend and include all those places along with you. We're doing that work. Eckhart Tolle wrote, and I believe this is so true, that it is through gratitude for each present moment that a spiritual dimension of life opens up for us. And we walk through that door each time we awake. We awaken even more. And we have a choice point. I love choices. Do you love choices? Make a choice. We're at a choice point in our life all the time. And that means we have an opportunity for an expanded awareness in our lives. A choice is the most beautiful word because we can say the power of I am, beautiful, beloved, and worthy. Say that with me. I am beautiful, beloved, and worthy. So if you go through life saying, you know, I'm beautiful, beloved, and worthy, or I'm old, cranky, and tired. You're laughing because you've said at least one of those words once in your life, I'm sure. I don't know that I've strung them together, but I know I've said I'm cranky. I know I've said I'm tired. And I've said I'm old. Anybody else here said any of those words together? Now think about it. You're putting the power of the I am into an affirmative statement. I am old, cranky, and tired. No. I am beautiful, beloved, and worthy. Together, I am beautiful, beloved, and worthy. So notice that it doesn't mean we throw away cranky. Cranky's necessary sometimes, especially if I haven't eaten. But notice it. Here is the key point in unity we speak about. It's the awareness that I'm whining and complaining. I'm cranky, I'm tired, I'm angry, I'm frustrated. And go, gosh, look at me. Sit beside, be the observer. And then you have the opportunity to go, oh, thank you. Lesson for the reminder. Let me shift it into I'm beautiful, beloved, and worthy, or whatever words you would choose. Robin Wall Kimmerer, Braiding Sweetgrass. Anyone familiar with the book, Braiding Sweetgrass? You can write that one down because we won't do a deep dive here because it's a dense, thick book, and it was just introduced to me at a conference with Inner Ministry Network, and it is a powerfully beautiful book. And she writes this: gratitude is not a passive response to something we have been given. It's an active choice, a recognition that our very existence is a gift. Yes? Yes. As we move into this season, we're in it, Christmas and beyond, notice the polarities. Notice the places that you are at different times. Notice the opportunity you have to make a different decision, to make a different choice, to trust that intuition, to set your goals, but also be present in each moment. There's a mix of emotions that come up during this season, joy and nostalgia, but also the weight of expectation. For many, there's loss. And sometimes there's an ache of what's changed, what's no longer what it was. And there's grief that shows up. Honor that grief. Speak to someone about it. Have a prayer chaplain pray with you about it. 1-800-NOW-PRAY. Call Silent Unity. Ask me just to talk about so much has changed. I'm here. Reverend Barbara's here. Well, not today. She's in Palm Springs. Gratitude helps us remember that there is light, there is love, there is hope, and we are in that beginning season with this advent of hope of something being birthed, not only in this community, but in the world. And we're doing that work when we come together and we remember that. So as one community and one breath and one shared consciousness, I'm going to invite us to say again together, let there be light. Together? Oh my gosh. What? Together. Let there be light. Okay, it's Super Bowl time, and I want to hear some powerful, let there be light. Together.
Let there be light.
Yes, take that, remember that, carry that with you. And always remember, as I always say at the end of every service, that you are sacred. You're a very important part of this journey. And that you matter. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever your story is, whatever you think your purpose is or you're navigating, you matter. And above all, hands over your hearts. If you haven't heard it today, you're going to hear it this morning. And if you need a reminder, come find me. I'll always remind you that you are loved. You are loved. And I am grateful to be with you. Namaste.